bit of a break there, but no, back into it right now. With, as I mentioned earlier, Chase Miller, yeah, international jet setter, mystery writer. You know, like it's
I think I have 2 articles.
Yeah, it's no, I think didn't do 3 in the end.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah,
They're on there.
They're on there. Yeah, which if you're on the website, you can actually choose an author to go back.
Wow.
On. Yeah.
That's really nice.
The latest update to the Bickering Press. It's getting there.
You can start your own positive feedback loop on the website.
Yeah, exactly. No, I did just fine. Like, obviously I've been running it now for like about 4 months, I think. I mean, I properly was kicking off with it like end of August, I think. That's when I went like full in and was like, right, I'm gonna be doing this. And I have just found like I'll get bored of a website design in like a few weeks. And then just be like, I need to make this better, and just fucking go for it. Which I don't know what that means for our audience. If they're feeling the same way, or if they're like, "Oh, dude, he did it again." You know?
Honestly, it's for me. Most websites, it just needs to be utilitarian.
Yeah.
Like obviously the look is nice, but if I'm having trouble finding what I want, I'm just like, fuck this. Like the content is sort of secondary in that case.
Yeah, exactly. I found out with the last design, it was nice to look at, but the problem was it was sort of like people turned up on the site and suddenly there was just a big picture of like the latest article.
Right.
And
there was like you could scroll up and down.
Yeah.
That's the one I remember is that you could scroll up and down, you would see the latest articles, like the last 10 or something.
Yeah.
But like as far as an archive or something like that.
Exactly. Like, you know.
You kind of do want the archive searchable.
Again,
is it searchable?
Yeah, so obviously now with a new website design, you got the search bar. You got the you can choose like
the search bar.
Yeah, the search bar. You can choose which month to go back to, and
that's nice.
You can choose an author because that's kind of what I wanted with the Bickering. Was a bit like I wanted people to fall in love with certain writers, you know, and it was sort of like when you knew a certain writer was writing something, you'd be like, oh, I really want to check that out, you know, because it was sort of supposed to be like an expression of the written word through people's psyches, you know.
The written rant.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, ranting, yeah. But yeah, so, you know, it sounds weird, but it was actually some feedback from my mum who was like, yeah, you know, sometimes I'll start reading an article and realise it's not you, and I'm reading it like, why is he talking about washing machines or something? And I'm like, dude, like, don't get me wrong, like, Sif's article, really fucking hilarious, check it out.
Yeah.
But definitely not me, you know, like, it's not my style, you know, it's not how I write, like, I just write about shit on the internet. And,
we're drinking all Italian beer.
We are, yeah, we've got a beer Moretti and a
sort of strange.
Well, but, you know.
What does that say about British export?
You know, British export's gonna go to shit, man.
I think I made the claim
Brexit and stuff. That's
when I was with Tanika and Callum. I was like, in the next 50 years, the United States and Britain are gonna be like Oceania and Orwell. It's gonna be like one country.
Yeah.
Because the differences really aren't that much different.
No, like I man, that is one thing that I worry about is like with the whole Brexit vote and with the whole, you know, we're getting out of that market, is like you only have to look at Weatherspoons. So Weatherspoons, the CEO, like really campaigned for Brexit. Like you had Beer Matt saying, you know, you vote leave and all this stuff. And then the dude's like losing millions and millions of pounds because, you know, other companies, foreign companies where he gets his cheap beer have suddenly gone, yeah, dude, trading with you might not be okay, you know, so we're going to hike our prices up and all that. And it's like, yeah, there were so many things that just got forgotten in this sort of like EU membership thing. It was like, oh yeah, all these laws which no one can name, but then also all the stuff we got from there was just sort of forgotten. And it was like, you know, it's like Carlsberg's one of the most popular beers in England. It's from Denmark, you know, like it's a Danish beer.
Well, you're gonna have like tariffs on things now.
Yeah, oh my god,
which is very strange.
It's gonna be. Don't get me wrong, like fucking the English real ale trade is brilliant, but you know, what if it's a hot day and you don't want a lukewarm puddle of flavour, you know, like
yeah, what if you want a San Miguel, you know?
Exactly, like, you know, it's already like Roscoe Head. It's like £4.40 for an Australia because they have to import it. dude, like, I can see that shit going up to £5 a pint. Like, easy, like, post-Brexit.
What was the one that was really insane to me?
Oh, it was, I was talking to you about when I was in that Head of Steam, and I was saying about Pabst Blue Ribbon.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, which is, like, in America, and when I was over in Canada, that's, like, the sort of, like,
The cheap hipster beer.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. It's, like, it's what the rednecks drink and stuff, you know? Whereas, like, over here, I went into this new pub that's opened up. You know, quite a nice place, don't get me wrong, but, like, yeah, they sort of import all these beers from around the world. Pabst Blue Ribbon, it was £6 a pint. Which in Liverpool, like in London maybe, but in Liverpool, fuck.
That's crazy.
Yeah, like that shit is not okay.
I mean, Pabst Blue Ribbon is the first beer I think I ever drank, and that kind of speaks to like what kind of beer it is.
Exactly, it's like the one that your parents or your uncle gives you to be like, yeah, try a beer, and you're like, oh god, do you remember that? Do you remember your first beer?
Yeah,
I hated it. I absolutely despised it.
I want to say. I don't want to say why I was drinking it, but yeah, it was ridiculous.
Yeah, I just remember being like sort of like 13 or 14, and it was like sort of stole some alcohol from your parents' alcohol cabinet, and you were like, how the fuck do people drink this shit? You know, like
seriously,
this is like the first time you drank a spirit. Oh my god, it was like. This is torture.
Actually, the first time that was not the first time I drank a beer. The first time I drank a beer was I was hanging out in my room and my grandpa was like fixing something on like a window or something, and he left his beer there, and it was in like a normal glass, and I thought it was my apple juice because I was drinking it out of a similar glass, similar color, and I drank it, and I was just like. And like your whole idea of what beer is just goes out the window because you think it's something that adults drink and it might be good, and it's just not at all.
It's like drinking grass,
Oh, it's horrible.
Like, don't get me wrong, like nowadays, love a beer. I drink many times a week, but it is kind of like I just sort of sit there sometimes, go, do I really like this? Or is it just something now that I've sort of accustomed my body to the point where it's like, yeah, no, this is beautiful, this is liquid gold, but
my brother honestly, my brother is very anti-beer because he thinks it's stupid that anything should be an accustomed, like you have to get your tongue accustomed to a taste, right? And people have that idea with wine too.
Yeah,
where like you have to grow your palate to the wine. And it's like once
it's the same with
I do think it's true though, like if you allow it some leeway, it'll grow on you. And beer is kind of the same way. Like the first time I had a beer, it wasn't like actually the first time I had a beer, it wasn't really that great.
Yeah.
But you drink it after a while, and like maybe the first one is a little bit rough going down, but like the second one, you're like,
exactly.
This is great, dude.
Like we're in party time right now.
Yeah.
Again, it's same with cigarettes. First cigarette I had,
it was horrendous.
I was like, this is gross.
It almost made me throw up.
Yeah, for real. I remember I was at a party, and they had like a few tents set up in the garden, and went down there, and there was like a few people smoking cigarettes and all that, and I was like, oh, why do you do that? And they were like, oh, just give it a go. So I was like, yeah, okay. I fucking tried it, and I like legit was like, I'm gonna throw up. I need to go away. This is gross. But then, suddenly after time, you just sort of forget it, you know?
The first time I ever had a cigarette on my own was because I didn't have any marijuana. And I was like, I want to smoke something.
Yeah. You want the sensation.
Like I was smoking it while I was driving on the highway, getting back to my sister's place. And like, I almost threw them fucking out the window. It was so terrible.
Well, it's like if you give up smoking even for like a week or two, and you have that first cigarette again, like the first cigarette is fucking horrendous.
Do you think so?
Oh, dude, for real.
I'm completely the opposite.
Oh no, I can like taste. Like I don't taste the tobacco. I just taste the ash.
I think we've talked about this before.
Yeah.
That scene from Friends. When Chandler was trying to explain to Joey what it's like, and then like that whole
it's
so funny
from your
that
hand and all that.
It's so funny that they like got it so right because. Like if you don't do it for a while, all the times that I've quit smoking, it's not because I chose to. It's just because of circumstance.
Yeah.
Like I just can't. Like there's no way I'm like living with my parents or something, for a little while.
Yeah.
Like I was like, I think before I came here, I lived with my parents for like a month, so I didn't smoke nearly as much.
Yeah.
But like when I had that first cigarette, it was just like, ugh, like my whole body just relaxes, and it's like this great extension of who I am, whatever he actually says it is.
Yeah.
It's like everything becomes very profound while you're holding it and stuff. And it's just like this horrible melodrama that's only cool to you.
Oh, completely.
It's so stupid, but it's so true.
Yeah, like again, same thing happens with drinking. It's like I saw this. There's a great parody website called Daily Mash, which I showed you a video from the other day, and it was they're talking about dry January, and it was like one of our articles was millions of Britons pretend to have a problem with alcohol, and it's like this whole idea that someone like gives up drinking 3 glasses of wine a week, and they're like, oh my god, this is so hard, and it's like, dude, if you actually try, like I gave up drinking for like a month, like just after my 25th birthday, and yeah, I was going in town and I was just like having glasses of water, which was great because you come back from a night out and just be so hydrated, and then like the next morning you actually wake up and be like, shit, I should do that more often. You know, like instead of the usual I'm never drinking again bullshit, you know. But yeah, I remember like the first beer after that month, I was like, oh dude, like it's so good. And it shouldn't be, because like realistically it is like fucking rotten.
Well, remember the last time I
vegetables and
came
all that,
here?
you know? Oh yeah, you went
The last
drinking.
time I came
yeah.
here, I just didn't drink. I mean, some of it had to do with, you know, alcohol's effect on your skin and stuff, but the other part, I just, you know, I'd wake up and I'd have like a slight hangover, and it would sort of ruin the first couple of hours when I was
Yeah.
awake. But for some reason, it really isn't the same anymore.
No.
Like, I really don't have a problem with it anymore, and it's a lot better.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
I'll
yeah.
say it's a lot better to, like, I don't know, think about some of the conversations we've had,
Yeah, exactly.
you know, at heebie-jeebies,
Yeah,
smoking
exactly.
cigs
It's,
and drinking beer. I mean, it's like, I don't know, it opens up all those possibilities.
yeah. Yeah,
And I guess you can't say that you wouldn't have the conversation if you didn't have the beer, but
No, but it is like people say, oh, you don't need alcohol to have fun. And it's like, no, I don't. You know, I've done many a thing that I haven't drunk and I've had a great time. But it is just, I don't know. There's something nice about it. There's something
it's different.
a little bit. Yeah, it's like I think I was talking to you about the about Truman Show. And I was saying, like, I love the fact that when they send the best friend round, he's got a 4-pack of beer. And that's, like, the sort of, like, bonding element that they need, you know. It's
I
like,
think
yeah,
you had termed that as American.
Yeah. It was like, yeah, I've come around with a 4-pack. Well,
It's like you guys
only said
meet
that
up at the
because-
pub
Yeah.
and get a beer, whereas, like,
Yeah,
our thing is, like,
in
you
Ameri-
come by with a 60.
Yeah,
and you have a few beers.
You get on the old dirt track and sit by the lake or something,
Yeah,
you know, like...
sort of, yeah.
you know?
Like, my friends, like, go shooting up in the hills.
Yeah.
Like, once every 2 weeks. And it's like this, I don't know, it's like this primordial American thing, because everybody has a gun.
Yeah.
And there's, like, great access to beer in the natural outdoors and all that stuff.
Yeah, you got waterfalls full of it, you know, like... Oh, that's it. Speaking of waterfalls, that's it, yeah.
And I think I told you that story about my grandpa, where, like, we're in Vernazza, Italy, and my mom and my aunt and my grandma are all out shopping, and it's like this strange example of the difference between men and women. I know it's not like a perfect example, but like they go out shopping, and my grandpa and I are left in the apartment that we're staying in to like hang out with each other, and like it's my grandpa, so we don't like hang out a lot. But then we're like
this profound moment. This
chat, and we're sitting there like we've just woken up, had our coffee, and it's like 11:30 in the morning. He's like, "What do you want to do today?" And I was like, "Bro, I don't know." And he looks at me and he's just like, "Would you be willing to go down to the cafe and get a 6-pack?" And I'm like, "Fuck yeah, dude!"
Exactly.
This guy's like 50 years my senior or something.
Yeah.
I
don't know. Again, maybe it's just something like ingrained in society, but I do find like, well, maybe I just have issues. I don't know, but like I do find like the moments where like I've done something and then you have a beer afterwards. That's kind of like when you reflect back on it, and that's something I find really nice. You know, it's like if you get a new job, or you know, somebody's done something incredible, And it's like you have that moment where it's like, you know, you settle down, you sort of come back to reality, and it's like, yeah, you know, settle down, have a beer, whatever. I do find those like, those are some of the moments like I remember, you know, like I remember on Christmas Day like years ago, like going down to a local pub with my dad and having a beer with him and stuff like that, and it is just, I don't know, it in British culture especially, it's everywhere.
Yeah.
Like anything, you know, it's like you go shopping or you do anything, and it's like, should we stop in and have a beer? And it's like, oh, dude, it's like 3 in the afternoon, maybe like maybe not, but it's like, it's just sort of like, I don't know, it's sort of like a bookend. It's sort of, it cuts it off, and it's like, okay, we done that, cool, here we go, and then yeah, sort of back to that point. But I don't think it's like a masculine feminine thing, but I do think.
Oh, I didn't mean it like that.
No.
Like in that specific situation,
Yeah.
it kind of showed the differences within the family,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like
the priorities.
like
I guess,
they wanted to go do something all together, and we wanted to like sit back together. You know, that wasn't a generalization towards all culture.
No, of course, no. I wasn't
but
saying that, but no,
so I don't know. I like when you read about like art movements, and Matt and I have talked about this before.
Yeah. By the way, Matt has to appear on this show now.
I know.
We've mentioned it very much.
Anyway, mutual friend, of course.
Yeah.
But like when we've talked about how art movements start or whether they can anymore or not, even back in the day, it was all about like localization of a lot of talent all at once, and it all centered around lots of drinking, lots of talking. And that's like where it sits with me is like
lots of absinthe.
I mean, think about what we're doing right. Yeah. Think about what we're doing right now, where like you sit down and you're trying to talk and you're trying to generate new ideas or develop ideas for an audience or something. And it seems like that's sort of what it's always been. Is like people sit down and they talk about their ideas for what they're creating or their ideas about life. And it seems like alcohol's sort of what loosens people up to like generate that stuff.
Well, it's a social lubricant, isn't it? You know, I mean, again, like going on dates and stuff. It's always like, should we grab a drink? You know, should we do that? And it was, I tell you, when I was in Dubai last year, it was kind of like weird that it wasn't so much of a focus, because again, in England, it's sort of, you want to watch the football, have a few beers. You go on a date, have a few beers. You're gonna have dinner, you know, and. Yeah, to be in Dubai, it was kind of like, the fact it was so secretive and sort of like, yeah, you can drink beer as long as it's in this establishment.
Secret,
and there's no
secret places. And
yeah, and it was kind of, I just found it so strange, because obviously as I've become a young man and an adult, it's been something that's so sort of intrusive and just there constantly, you know, like, honestly, it's like, watching football. It's always like, we'll have a beer and watch the football. It's like 1 o'clock on a Sunday. Like, nobody should be drinking a beer there. But,
it's weird. It's like, I don't know. It just doesn't seem weird at all.
Exactly, and that's
and I don't think there's. I mean, obviously, if you go overboard, it's bad. But
if you're waking up in the first thing in the morning, you're having like, you know, vodka in your orange juice or something.
Yeah, we need to talk about you, bud.
About me?
Yeah, because you go out for a night and then. It's like the next day you're like, I'm feeling kind of poor. And it's like, oh great, Adam, I kind of want to hang out today. I guess we're just gonna end.
I guess I do have a issue. So
it's not an issue. It's just.
But no, living close.
It's just when you say you're like feeling a little ill, it's like the night before you've gone a little deep.
Oh no, for sure. Like, but again, like living this close to the center of town is kind of like, you know, I finish hanging out with one friend, and I was like, God, this can make me sound like a wanker. But, you know, like, I finished hanging out with one friend, and I'm, like, walking home, and there's someone, like, outside the bar having a cigarette or something. It's like, oh, yo, do you know what's happening? And it is kind of a testament to when I moved to Liverpool. I made, I had to go out and make friends. You know, I could have just sat in my apartment and done fuck all, but, you know, like, I had to go out and make friends. So, obviously, as we were talking about social lubricant, alcohol, whatever, you go to the pub. So it's like all my friends now are like bartenders or like, or just people who were like renowned for going out. And so it was like, so now it is, I do have that problem where it's like, again, I don't want to be a wank to people. So when they're like, oh, have a beer, it's kind of like, yeah, why not? You know, you're like, what am I really going to like do. Like, because if someone's like, oh, I'll come out for a beer, when you're like face to face and you're like, no, then they're like, oh God, what's wrong with him? You know, like,
You can always just
that guy's
just
an
be
asshole.
self-deprecating. It's pretty easy.
Oh no,
You're like, nah, I gotta go home. If I have this beer, I'm gonna wake up like at 2, and people understand that.
Do they?
Yes.
It's like,
You can be. It's okay to offend people sometimes.
yeah, I mean,
That's the lesson of a girl with a dragon tattoo, dude.
yeah, but see, I think
If
this,
you're afraid to offend people, you're gonna get hung up by your arms
but
and
again,
get gutted.
I think this might be a cultural difference. I think loads of British people are too afraid to offend people so much. Like, you know, we have this thing, like, massive thing. If you don't catch someone's name, and you can't ask more than like 2 or 3 times. If someone says their name and you're like, oh, sorry, I didn't catch that, and they just say it again, you still didn't catch it, you never go, what is your name? You just, for the rest of eternity, just go, you right, mate, or you right, buddy, or what. There's such like this British shyness to everything that you're too afraid to offend people, and then when you do, it's kind of like, what the fuck, you know? Like, it's like, as we were talking about earlier, like, the moment you offend someone in Britain, they think you're going postal. They think like, this guy's given up on society. This guy, like, you know,
Damn.
yeah, like,
Do you think that really is it?
Oh, dude, yeah, British awkwardness. It is this huge thing. I mean, that's how Hugh Grant's made a career. Is just being like this bumbling, awkward British guy. That's like his thing, you know. But it's kind of too. It's too apparent because it's too close to home as such, you know. Like, everyone has that element of it, you know. Everyone has this sort of feeling of, oh God, I can't.
Yeah, it seems
fuck up,
like,
you know.
I mean, this is one of the things you kind of want to talk about is like differences in culture.
Yeah.
Between our 2 nations. Although I would say there are so many fucking people in the country I'm from, it's sort of ridiculous to talk about grand statements like that. But
Yeah.
There's like 360 million people.
See, this thing.
But anyway, like if you're talking about culture, like it seems like a lot of your comedy. I've heard people talk about this before, and it sort of does make sense. But your guys' comedy, in a lot of ways, focuses in on the inadequacies of the self, whereas our comedy kind of focuses in on the inadequacies of everybody else.
Yeah. Oh,
you know?
Completely.
Because, like, I mean, like, think about Archer, that show.
Yeah.
It's like, although he's sort of like an incompetent buffoon who's drinking all the time, he's still, like, just lambasting everybody that comes near him, you know?
Well,
like, everybody else is wrong.
Well, I mean, look at the differences in, like, The Office, you know? I know it's a cliche thing to go to, but the British Office is, you know, it's this very awkward based thing where there's not even really a joke there. It's just the awkwardness of the the self-deprecating nature of British people, where it's like, if awkwardness happens, it's your fault.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, in America, like, US Office, there's, like, these big events happening and just, like, people shouting, people screaming, and it's kind of like, it's because the world's fucking up around them.
Well, and it's because the character that people most relate to is Jim, because he's the one who's looking at the camera.
He's the voice of reason.
He's the one looking at the camera like, really, you know, like all the time. Whereas Michael's the one that's like, sort of out in right field, you know. Sorry, that's baseball. Sort of.
Going straight into the end zone. So that's a joke pre-podcast, you know. But oh, completely. And I don't know. I mean, one of the main differences that I see personally is, like, British people sort of know it's shit, and we kind of just put up with it a little bit more. You know, we'll complain a little bit, but we don't want to make too much of a nuisance. You know, like, our protests, you know, like, when the Iraq War was happening, there was a massive protest, like, you know, hundreds of thousands of people. And it was just sort of, marching in the street and doing whatever. And it's like, America has a protest, and, like, 3 people die. And, like, you know, shit gets fucking explosive and all that stuff. And it's kind of like, I don't know, I think Americans are a bit more, call me out on this if I'm wrong. But, you know, I sort of see Americans as a bit more like, if something I was telling you about earlier, this sort of, like, standard of the self, you know, it's sort of like, if I fuck up, I feel a bit embarrassed. when Americans fucked up, they go about like, oh fuck, dude, like, you know, I really fucking messed that up, you know, like, and they sort of like start analyzing it, you know.
Yeah.
Or like certain Americans,
I've
obviously.
tried to
As you said,
explain it.
there's 360
I'm
million
trying to
of you
explain it
guys,
to
like,
myself, and maybe that's why I like being over here. Is that the self-deprecating nature of people is sort of more similar to what I'm like. But I think I don't know. Maybe this is just ridiculous, and it's sort of like more epigenetics. But like, it seems like that sort of works well with the fact that the people in Europe who are like literally fed up with all the wars were like, I'm going to America. There's like nobody there. I'm gonna like try to make it for myself. Do you know what I mean?
yeah, a little bit, yeah.
It's like people like basically risked their entire life to get over there.
Yeah.
Put 10 years salary on getting on a boat to come over here. To go over there.
Yeah, true.
So there is something where like everybody's life is, you know, if they, I mean, this is definitely not everybody over there, but like most people, and I think this is changing rapidly, but most people view it as like they're the ones going against the system all the time.
Yeah.
And I think it has something maybe feudal to do with England, whereas like when you talk about a country in its inception was always a democracy, there is sort of a difference between like how legacies are carried on. Well, so like whereas like England, you had, although it did become a republican democracy at some point, or a parliamentary I don't know where you make that distinction, but there are legacies within your culture that have been there forever, literally. Like
exactly.
there are bloodlines within your culture that, I mean, the royalty is one of them, where there are bloodlines in money which has been there since the 1100s, essentially.
Exactly.
I think I read that Tilda Swinton is like one of the oldest bloodlines on Earth or something like that, where they can trace everything back.
Oh, it's
insane.
It's great. I think it's what I was talking to you about the other day about, like, sort of traditionalism, you know, like obviously America is quite a new country.
Very new.
In all aspects. It's, you know, like I know I don't want to make America and Canada whatever, but they are sort of similar times. They were sort of kicking off, and I remember seeing, when I was over in Vancouver, there was a thing in an estate agent saying old build home, 75 years old. And it's like, dude, in England you have homes from like 1100, you know, and it's like, yeah, shit, like stuff has sort of continued, but then I do feel like England and Britain as a whole is it's very held back by its traditions, you know. There's so many things that we still do which everyone goes, why? You know, like, why the fuck are we still doing that? There's no place for that in the modern world or whatever. And but I don't know, and I don't know, I think America still has this sort of energy of when it was being created, and sort of like, you know, the idea of the American dream, the idea of anyone can make it, and, you know, if you work hard enough, you're there and you're doing whatever. It's like, you only have to look at sports stars in America and sports stars in England to realize the difference. It's like, you interview Wayne Rooney after he scored like a hat trick and a bicycle kick and stuff like that, and he's like, yeah, teammates were really good, and, you know, like, fans were really brilliant and stuff like that. It's like, you interview an NBA star after they've just put up a 50-point game, and they're like, did you see that shit? Like, you know, like, that shit was on fire, man. You know, like, and it's this whole idea that, you know, I think in England the belief in yourself is seen as naivety, whereas in America it's like belief in yourself is seen as this proud sort of thing to have. Like, if you believe in yourself and you try hard enough, you'll get there. Whereas in England it's very much like, if you believe in yourself and you keep trying to do it when it's not working, you know, like, maybe not, you know, like, maybe it's time to cool time on that, you know. But as I said, like, you know, there's too many people in America to make it one generalization, you know.
Well, I mean, in that sense, you wouldn't say that. I guess you have to kind of generalize in the sense that you're generalizing for the mass audience or whatever, for the general public, right? And there is a sense of, it's not necessarily, I mean, I think it's what people always called like rugged individualism, where
Yeah.
somehow even though we live in this completely global culture, right? Like anything I say if I want to can be accessed by anybody else in the world.
Yeah.
Still somehow people in America think that it's them and their family and them, their thoughts and actions can be the it can be the thing that turns the tide.
Yeah, the driving force, you know.
Right. And I don't,
they can start a revolution.
it's definitely
you know?
not a bad thing.
No.
Right? Like if you instill that in an entire culture, I think it lends itself to its own innovation. Right?
Yeah, yeah.
I
of
mean,
course.
because what are the negatives to that? It's narcissism, right?
Yeah.
But for every narcissist, there's somebody who is
Lacking confidence to the point where they don't do anything.
that,
Yeah.
or somebody who literally does have the talent
Yeah.
and
Well,
who can make a difference.
well, yeah, I mean, I think
It's all. I mean, and that's the thing is like when people say that, like if you put in the work, if you literally put in your entire life towards a certain purpose,
Yeah.
right? The idea in America is if you work harder than the person next to you, you're going to succeed, which isn't true.
No,
It's
not
not
at all.
true that that's going to happen for you, but you do increase your odds exponentially if you do
Oh yeah.
that.
Oh, of course. But again, I think there's again, you only have to look at the sort of comedy we have. In Britain, it's very much like, yeah, you can work harder than the guy next to you, but something is gonna fuck up and just make it to the point where it's like, you know, like the thing about like the Seinfeld theme tune is something I always yeah, exactly. I always thought that should have been a British thing, where it's like to the point where it's like, just everything you try for in life happens, and you work at it so hard, and then something else fucks it up, and then you can just imagine a guy looking at a camera and being like, "Oh, did it?" And
it's weird 'cause
or like the
Seinfeld-
Curb Your Enthusiasm thing, but like, you know, and it's just, I think there is such a sort of. This is why I love pub culture in England as well. Where it's like the idea that someone just walks in on a Friday night and just goes, "Oh fuck," you know. It's like there's another week, you know. That's another day gone. And it's just like, dude, fucking yeah, I'll keep doing.
It's weird because
I'll keep doing
Seinfeld
my
and
shit,
Curb
you
Your
know?
Enthusiasm are definitely more, as far as like, right? Like so, when you're talking about the comedy itself, everything in Seinfeld comes back to zero.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's like the difference there is that it's the individual is the difference there is that Jerry Seinfeld's always the smartest person in the room. He's all like, so you know how to make the reservation, but you don't know how to keep the reservation,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
is really what a reservation, you know, like he's the guy who's correcting everybody, but still
Yeah.
nothing works for him.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Whereas
yeah.
that's the difference there is like, same with Curb Your Enthusiasm. He's always the guy that's sort of like, he's the spike in the room.
Yeah.
Right, but like even see that's the difference there is that like, although he's the, if I want to keep the term going, like the rugged individual who's always breaking people's backs and stuff and
Yeah.
ribbing people and stuff, it's like in that case, it's the world that is shite, right?
Well, yeah, I think that's a big thing in Curb, isn't it? It's always like, and if you're a Curb Your Enthusiasm fan, even the slightest, you do find yourself worrying sometimes when you agree with Larry David a bit too much, and you're a bit like, oh yeah, dude, the
Same with Seinfeld,
guy's
too.
got a point. Yeah, exactly. Like I haven't watched much Seinfeld myself. It wasn't really on TV.
But
over here
the problem with
that
me
much,
with
but-
Seinfeld is that during like a normal episode, you're just like, no, dude, stop. I want
Yeah,
something
yeah.
good to happen for you.
Yeah,
But you just
oh,
know,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know the
yeah,
universe
yeah.
of Seinfeld is going to like conspire to make his life the
Yeah.
same.
See,
It's always going to come back to like that same resentful bitterness.
See, I think the show in England that like obviously it's not on the same level as Seinfeld, but if you ever watched The Inbetweeners, yeah, the British version, I mean the US version of that just didn't work, like at all.
There's a US version?
Yeah, it fucking sucks, dude. It is awful.
Well, it's just like the US version of Skins. So
yeah,
it's-
exactly. Like, and that's the thing. I think the US office was like a sort of like anomaly, you know. that works.
It was a different show.
Yeah, exactly. It was a different show, but it's like the Inbetweeners. They literally take the same scripts and try and put it in an American setting, and it just doesn't work. But that show for like any teenager growing up around that time was so true.
Mm-hmm.
It was like
just like the Arctic Monkeys for.
Yeah,
it's weird how like
it was like nobody's that cool. Nobody's that suave. Like as soon as you try and do something, it will fuck up in every sort of way, you know. And it's like. Again, the same sort of thing you were saying about, like, I just want something good to happen for you is, like, there was no redemption in that show. Mm-hmm. Like, the guys, like, even if there was a slight bit of redemption, like, you know, one of them got a hand job or something, it was always, like, in a disgusting and terrible way. Mm-hmm. To the point where it was just, like, this overriding sort of, like, grimness to the whole thing, mm-hmm. which was just so apparent in everyone's life because there was no cliche, there was no, like, Hollywood happy ending, you know. It was just like, this is what life is like. It's just shit. You embarrass yourself constantly and then maybe get like a moment of something good happening and then fuck that up again, you know. And see I loved that, but it's like so many people watch that show and go, oh, you know, the acting is not great and, you know, oh, whatever. And it's like, dude,
The Inbetweeners?
Yeah.
I thought it was quite good.
I thought it was alright, you know. I thought it was like, when you say the acting's not great, these guys are playing like 16-year-old students in a high school. Like, they're playing it fucking perfectly. For guys in their late 20s playing these kids, it's like, you have picked up on the character. Like, nobody at the age of 15 is charismatic. You cannot tell
Very
me.
rarely.
Yeah, like...
Very rarely.
Like, you cannot tell
and
me.
And they're
like,
only charismatic to people their own age.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
If like talking about charisma with like people that are 10 or 12 years your senior, it's like they're just like, who the fuck is this like arrogant piece of shit?
Exactly. Anyone like in their 20s looking at who they were in like, I mean, we'd call it year 9, I guess. So like 15.
Yeah.
Is that like grade 9? Yeah.
Grade.
So like anyone in their 20s looking back on how they acted at that point will, you know, fall into like a cube of just like shame and despair and cringing because you're just like, you know, as soon as you turn 16, you're like, I fucking own the world, man. You know, like I could join the army if I want. You know, I could technically get married if my mum said it was all right. And it was like, yeah, I just remember like being in class and like a teacher would tell me off for being a dick. You know, like I was definitely fucking horrible to teach. But then I'd be there like, nah, screw you, fucking adult, you know, you don't know me. Like, and it's just like, yeah, there was no charisma, there's nothing cool about you, you know. Like, you literally are just trying to find your way in the world. You're not comfortable with who you are at that age either, you know, because obviously you're changing your style every 2 minutes and you know, puberty's happening and all that stuff, you know. And it's like, I do just love the idea that that's the thing. If anyone acted nowadays how they act in high school, you would be like, well, what are you doing? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I mean,
people that think you're like not insane, but like, I don't know,
unable to
your
grow
emotions
up, you know?
are just all over the place.
Do you mind if I grab this one?
Yeah, of course.
Cool. Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's obviously been in a few like American films, like the frat bro who doesn't want to grow up, and then he has a moment where it's like, yeah, you know, redemption and, you know, realizes and stuff like that. But yeah, I don't know. I think there's something to be said for going through stages of life in a bit of a cliched way, which isn't actually that like embarrassing or wrong or anything like that. You know, like,
I mean,
you should be embarrassing when you're 15 years old.
The reason a cliche is
you know?
a cliche,
yeah,
is
exactly.
because it does apply in a lot of situations.
Yeah.
Right? It's just cliches become annoying when they start to get used for things that are slightly not cliches.
Yeah,
Do you know what I
yeah.
mean? Like,
oh yeah, like,
I mean, any cliche, it's just like, it is sort of a generalization for some kind of mode of behavior or some kind of phenomenon. So, yeah.
No, I love the idea when people say like, oh, going to a certain bar is cliche, and it's like, is it? You know, like, it's not exactly done by everyone. You know, like, cliche is like, you get old and you can't find your teeth. You want something like that, you know, you can't find your dentures.
Get an erection or something.
Yeah, like, that's like cliche. Like,
yeah.
dude, if I'm like 80 years old and I can't get an erection, I might just giggle. You know, I might just be like, yeah, no, I got there.
Yeah, and then
I
you
got that
finally
point in life.
realize the cliche is right. You're like,
Yeah.
God damn it.
Exactly, and then it's kind of like, oh god, that always. It's like,
I guess cliches are most damning when it's you making your own decisions about like certain things about yourself, and then you realize you're a cliche, and you're like, God damn it.
but do you know what? Do you know what? Like, even as I said, I'm only 25 now, but I still find myself listening to the same music I did when I was like 17 or 18. You know, I'm really not that good at finding out new music.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and that's the thing. Like, the music my dad listens to is the same shit he was listening to back in the day. You know, it's like all the 70s and 80s and all that. And I was like, you know, and I'm there going to him like, oh, come on, old man, like, if I, get some new music.
I think it has something to do with
then it's kind of like
your brain stops developing when you're 25.
Is that it?
And especially like the max of your creativity, like that, as far as the index of your personality, as far as like a trait of creativity, maxes when you're like 23 to 25.
Fuck.
So like you have to, not only do you have to reach out the tendrils, if you're trying to get like as much good music as possible,
yeah,
you need to like really reach out around this age because
God.
because after that you literally won't enjoy anything else unless you really try.
Yeah, Christ, yeah, because I don't know.
I've thought about that. Honestly, that has been like one of the leading concerns of the last year and a half for me, is like realizing like your brain
turning into your person you're gonna be for the next 60 years.
Yeah. I mean, right? It's like my brain might be fully formed at this point, and
right.
So if it's fully formed right now, then I need to get rid of as much shitty material as possible and like replace it with...
Yeah, I need to make room for it.
I need to like replace it with actually useful information or interesting stuff.
Yeah.
Because I'm just going to be like a shell after that. It'll be like my high school and latter college years. You don't want to be that person.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe that's what I need to, consciously do over the next 6 months, is just like push out all the shit I don't need. Mm-hmm. Make room for some new information, take that and be like, fine. But it's like, I listened to a few bands who were like big and like Enemy or whatever. And see, that's the thing, even me saying Enemy is like a free magazine nowadays. Like, nobody goes there. It's not the thing it once was, but when I was a teenager, everyone bought Enemy all the time to...
Right, it's like when I was a late teenager, Pitchfork was like
exactly. Exactly, yeah. And it's like, I listen to some new bands and I'm literally just... They can be good, but I'm not going back to them. I'm not like, and I think that's really annoying because I always saw myself as someone who really liked music and someone who really was into it. But it is like, I realised the other day, I hopped in the shower, I put on the Cribs album from like 2006, and I was like, dude, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, genuinely, I'm just, I
guess
I'm getting to that stage where I'm just becoming an old man who's very set in my ways, like.
You may not like new genres that pull up, but I think there's enough talent and democratization of that talent where, like, if you like the style of rock and roll that peaked in the 09-10 era, then you're sort of going to be able to find that always, and there will always be decent albums coming out that are sort of like that.
Yeah, sort of influenced.
And so you don't have to really... I mean, if there's a new thing like rap, like if there's a new type of
see, I'm not
musical...
that old. I still like some rap. I'm not like too old.
No, I don't mean that. But I mean like a new one, like how like rock and roll, and then it went into like hip hop or EDM came out like in the early 90s and late 90s.
I think the last hurrah for me.
And then everybody that liked rock and roll was like, "What the fuck is this shit?"
Yeah, I think the last hurrah for me was like dubstep. I think that was like, in like 2011, I sort of like, I fucked with Skrillex a little bit. I was a bit like, okay, this is kind of okay.
Yeah, I got really into like EDM and house for a while, and I think I've laid the field out well enough to where like anything that sort of comes out from now on, I'll at least like get a little bit.
Give it a once over, but it was never going to be anything I'd like get into fully. I mean, like, I think the problem is with like EDM music at the moment, well, not even at the moment, just EDM music as a whole, is like, it just reminds me of being like 19 or 20 years old, lost in a club, too drunk to realise what was going on. No friends around me, just sort of wandering around trying to look cool and trying to find my place, you know? Like,
this is one of the things that I really think is weird, is that any pop song that comes out right now is either has some kind of dubstep influence or some kind of EDM influence.
Oh,
it's
completely.
Weird. Like
the build.
So the choruses in songs now aren't choruses; they're anti-choruses.
Yeah.
Right. So like the verse will be really poppy, and then it'll break into like an EDM chorus.
Yeah, just fucking...
And then it'll be like 4 bars of just the music, which is nice because you actually get to like compliment the producer.
Yeah.
But it's so like obvious that they're just
mimicking.
Exactly.
It's kind of like they found like the psychology of what makes music good.
Yeah.
And they're
Well,
just...
I mean, they've always been able to do that.
Oh, no, of course. But it's like, I do feel nowadays, like, if you look back at when the Beatles were doing stuff, this again a wanky thing to say, but it's like, you know, they were writing music and they were doing whatever and they were sort of like going with the times a little bit, you know. Obviously they went into the fucking LSD trips and whatever with Sgt. Pepper's and Yellow Submarine. But I do feel now with like manufactured pop, there is such a psychology behind it.
Yeah.
Where it's like, if
Most
we do
songs
this
are
for
the same.
6 bars and we do like a little bit of a build here and then we hit this, you know, this key change right here, it's going to be a hit. So I was saying to you about Taylor Swift yesterday. I was
I was just thinking about that with dubstep, and you know how like it's not a dubstep song, but there's that one song where she's like,
down. Yeah, what's it? I Knew You Were Trouble, that's the one.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
But it's like such a obvious.
But it's like and it was like, the drop going in there was like, so like, that was a sign of a times coming on right there, you know?
If she's doing it, then the movement's dead.
Oh, dude, like,
that's just it.
But exactly, but then it's like so manufactured to the point where it's like, people know what's popular and how to write a song like that. Which means it's not the song that people are going out to write.
Especially producers.
Yeah, exactly. But it's like, with a lot of mainstream popular pop songs, that's not the song they went out to write. Mm-hmm. But they adjust the theme of it to make it fit a certain crowd, you know? It's like, it's rare nowadays that you get something like Dylan going electric when he sort of turned his back on the folk trade as such and, you know, went electric. Because nowadays it's like someone changes their style and people just go, yeah, he's not that good at it.
Well, because changing their style, all they're doing is changing the style within the pop framework. So it's really not like a change of style at all.
Yeah, exactly. Like
it's just changing instrumentation.
Yeah, it's like Mumford & Sons. They got an electric guitar, but they were the exact same songs.
Yeah. I mean,
you know, and
Mumford & Sons, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I know. I fucking hate them. But it's
I mean, okay, and what's the other one? Like Ed Sheeran and Beyonce, that song, which is like the most popular song on earth right now.
I don't listen to Ed Sheeran.
It's a decent song, but it's so obvious what they're doing. It's like Ed Sheeran, great voice, like #1 British artist right now, and then
#1 artist in the world, #1
Beyonce,
Spotify,
the Queen,
Spotify.
And you make them do a love song. There's no love between them. Like Beyonce's married and Ed Sheeran's a redheaded weirdo. You know?
Who is actually engaged.
Interesting.
Yeah. But no,
I mean, I would be surprised if he wasn't.
Yeah, I mean, the thing I'm slightly worried about is we spent about 20 minutes on the last podcast just ripping into Ed Sheeran as well. Like, I don't want to.
I honestly don't know that much.
No, I mean, what we were saying in the last podcast was like,
I'm in love with your body.
You know.
That's my problem with him is like it's fucking Ed Sheeran. Like,
yeah,
he's really
yeah.
The guy in the club. That's spotting bodies and stuff.
But again, this is like,
come on.
This is why I see like as the British sort of thing is like, no matter how good I've ever felt about myself, I've never gone, I walk into the club and people turn.
But that really isn't him,
shit.
Though. Wasn't he the guy that was like in the subway playing on the guitar and stuff and like out of his hat? And
you probably weren't clubbing when you were like 23, you know? Like,
yeah, it's so weird to me. Especially the Beyonce collab it's obvious because he has a great voice, right? But like it's so obvious what they're trying to do. They're combining audiences.
That's the thing. I'm not denying the fact he's talented. Like, he is talented.
He's obvious. I mean, that's what Taylor Swift is obviously talented.
Exactly. But it is just like, you know, when you hear something and you're like, this is so not for me, but I know it's going to be huge. And you just go, fuck.
Yeah, and it's more the mentality behind the artist.
Yeah.
And that's why, like, like, I don't want to be, like, pretentious or something, but Taylor Swift is not an artist.
No, she's a product.
Ed Sheeran is not an artist.
No.
Beyonce kind of rides the line.
Well,
a lot of those people ride the line.
No, see, with Ed Sheeran, like, he started playing music in Suffolk, where I spent my teenagers, right? So I went to a few gigs where Ed Sheeran was playing and stuff. So I sort of saw his rise. And the weird thing was, I remember going off to university, and I hadn't really been paying attention to whatever was going on. And suddenly I got to university, and there was girls in my lecture hall talking about Ed Sheeran. And I was like, you fucking joke? Like, this guy who I'd seen play in a little pub in Ipswich, like, 5-6 months ago.
Seriously?
Yeah, for real. And it really, like, yeah, it really blew my mind, because I was like, the fuck, is he, like, huge now? And then, like, a year later, he's playing at the Olympics. And I was like, the dude just fucking exploded, like, he just suddenly, like, appeared, But when I saw him, he was all, like, loop pedals and, voice recorders, whatever. And then so much that got lost when he sort of became the thing he is now,
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, so he was an artist, but then, he just got latched onto by the companies being like, we can market this, and then that's when you become a product.
That's what I was saying about the body thing in the song "I'm in Love with Your Body" or whatever. Is it's so obvious because, no offense to the guy, but he's not a traditional sex symbol.
No.
So the fact that you're making a song about him talking about a girl's body, like, completely, like, that's really all the song's sort of about. It's sort of like love and, like, I'm literally in love with your physicality and stuff.
Yeah.
It's like everything about his songs, especially that song, where it's basically like, it's weird because it has his guitar, so it's like an acoustic house song.
Yeah. Okay.
It's fucking weird. Like, the chorus is. That's all it is. It's so weird. And, like, that's not to say that the 4 to the floor with, like, a hi-hat is bad, because I love that kind of music, but it's so obvious that they're realizing that house and Disclosure got really popular, and then now it's like, oh, come on, let's make some money off this shit. Everybody's into it because Disclosure, like, broke the gap.
Let's capitalize. Like, oh, dude.
I mean, I was like, Disclosure, when that came out, I was telling people this is, like, my favorite album of the year, and they were just like, Disclosure, really? Like, this is just, like, EDM music? And it's like, no, it's not, dude.
It's something different.
This is changing the game.
No, it's EDM, but with feelings. We're fucking soul.
This is like 90s house, dude. You don't understand. This is like vintage house.
This is going to be huge. And then it's like fucking 5 years later, Disclosure. Do you know what they've done recently?
Yeah, I just downloaded their EP.
Did you?
Yeah, it's like Moog for Real or something like that.
Is it any good?
I haven't listened to it. I was going to listen to it on the way here.
Okay. Well, I guess that makes my point a bit mute right there.
Dude. But yeah. they had Caracal, which came out a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Moog for Love, sorry.
Moog for Love.
Mm-hmm. Which I'm guessing they're going to use the Moog synthesizer a little bit.
Yeah.
Disclosure's the bomb, dude. Don't sleep on Disclosure.
Dude, like, I don't know.
Are they the new Radiohead? Possibly?
No. I think with any band, like, this is, like, one of my theories. Okay, so back in, like, 2004, FIFA soundtracks had, like, Kings of Leon, Radiohead,
great music,
Kasabian, like, really, really fucking good. And then, like, about the turn of the decade, FIFA just started getting, like, anyone who they could just pay to get on there, and, like, it sort of got used like a marketing thing to go on there. And I remember Disclosure got on there with their song F for You. Like, yeah. And now they've just sort of fallen into this group for me of just, like, bands I fucking despise just because I...
Disclosure?
Yeah, just because I heard them too much.
Oh, you're lame, dude.
Nah, just because I heard them...
Come on, dude.
No, dude, I guess I play too much FIFA.
Don't sleep.
Oh, dude, what do you mean don't sleep?
Don't sleep on Disclosure.
No, when you say don't sleep, that means, oh, you're waiting for something. I'm waiting for nothing from Disclosure. I know what they are. I know what they're going to do. Oh, dude, they're not going to come out with, like, the fucking next big album. Like...
They could.
Oh, dude, no way. If you release an album and then you go back to releasing EPs, fuck that. They're done. They're done. Disclosure are done.
Fuck you, dude. Don't say that.
They fucking are, man.
No, I mean, it'll be hard for them to create something like Settle, which was like their breakout album.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, because it basically blended 90s style with with the production value of music at this age, right?
Yeah.
And it just made it sound amazing. And I found this out. I found out that people don't really like house because I'd go back and like, because like once I listened to them, I had been listening to house leading up to them.
Yeah.
And then once I listened to them, I was like, oh shit, I'm like really gonna go back and look at British house and Detroit house and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And then like play it for people and they're like, what the fuck is this shit? And you're like, you don't like this, dude? But yeah, so I agree. They're probably not gonna come out with another album that's that like monumental and
Chase,
good.
you know what I see them like, and we had this discussion in Heebie-Jeebies. They are like a couple years later MGMT. Like MGMT, you look back and you go, yeah, that shit was sound. That was good. Where are they gonna go with that? Like, I mean, MGMT, you always knew they were gonna be like fucking disastrous after the first album. Like,
but they're not bad.
they're not bad. No, they're not bad. But it like, I don't know. I think maybe I'm too critical on bands that I just know aren't gonna be like memorable, or I know they're not gonna be.
But what is memorable?
Oh, dude, like when.
Because the only reason that Radiohead keeps like raising in their status is because they're fucking geniuses. Not everybody is a genius.
And
they're well marketed.
But in 15 years, if somebody you know is getting married, especially in England, it will be like you'll get like Sun Goes Down by Arctic Monkeys. That will come on at the disco afterwards, and everyone will be like, oh, classic, you know, all of that. I don't think anyone's ever going to put on a Disclosure song in 15 years.
Are you serious?
Yeah, for real, dude. For real.
Did Start the Party with Fire Starts to Burn?
No, like, that's
and
not...
It starts to spread?
Yeah, I mean, I know that song, but I don't think many people actually do know that.
Bring that attitude home. You don't want to do with that in their life?
Dude, I don't...
For sure, dude.
No,
that was like one of the most popular songs for like 2 years running.
No, because I remember being at university and playing that at like a few parties, and...
Maybe for you.
No.
Then maybe that's the difference between British culture, dude.
No, let me finish my point.
That shit was popping for a long time.
Dude, no, I remember playing that shit at parties, and people didn't even know what it was. They were just like, oh, this is like a dance track, you know? Like, for real, they weren't that big. Over here, anyway. Like, they were kind of big. Because they had that... What's that song?
They had the song Latch with Sam Smith.
That's one, yeah.
Latching on
you. Like, I don't know, man. Like, I don't know. They always just seem like a sign of the times. They were like MGMT or Klaxons or like, you know, Later Vampire or something like that. Like these bands.
So what is your point really? Because it seems like you're saying that they're not good and they won't produce a masterpiece.
No, I'm saying they.
Because it seems because your argument really to me is that you're saying that their masterpiece won't also be popularly lauded. Because that's a huge difference.
My point is they're seen as a masterpiece because of the time they came out.
I mean, Oracular Spectacular is a masterpiece because of the times. Like there are songs on there that aren't that great, but they also get like lumped into having to make music like that for the audience that they cultivated at the time. But it's Congratulations is a great album, and then the one that's self-titled MGMT is a good album, and then this new one is great. So it's like what
I guess I don't know, like
that's just because everybody that listened to those songs, like Kids was like one of the biggest songs of that year and will always be one of the biggest songs.
When was the last time you went into a club and heard someone playing MGMT?
But that's different. Kids is not a club song.
No, because I've heard people play Arctic Monkeys, play The Strokes, play, like, even Kings of Leon, play... I've heard, like, the indie clubs around town play that sort of stuff.
Well, I think that's a little different. I honestly have heard it in clubs before. Kids? Yeah.
In Liverpool?
Not here, but...
Yeah.
I mean, over there, yeah.
Yeah, okay, maybe in like 20 years it'll be like...
It's pretty obvious. It's like a good song for that.
Oh, no, I said it's a cracking song. I used to love MGMT, but I'm just saying, like... I just don't see it being, like... this song that we're gonna remember for.
That's not what I'm saying.
No, I
That's
know.
not what I'm on at
No?
all. I'm talking about, like, because it seemed like you were doubting Disclosure's ability to make great music.
I'm doubting their ability to follow up great music.
Isn't making great music a
Yeah,
follow-up
yeah.
to great music?
No, because they've made great music, so I'm not doubting their ability to make. I'm doubting their ability to do it again.
I think they can make great music. It's just that people might find it redundant, right?
Right.
Because, although I disagree with most people that house is quite limited,
Yeah.
I don't think that's necessarily true. But I think they will succumb a little bit to critical pressure for, like, when will they not do house music? And you're like, they're house musicians. What the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, but again, I don't know. I have a worry with Disclosure.
I feel like you haven't really listened to MGMT that much.
No, I have. Dude, I was brought
You
up.
listened to MGMT, the self-titled album?
Which one's that? Yeah,
Exactly,
there we go.
dude.
But like, no, I don't know.
Exactly.
It's like Claxons when they came out, blew the scene away. They won the Mercury Award. They were like this groundbreaking new band that was like, oh my god, this is like the shit. And then their second album sucked, and they just died like straight away, And
Did it suck?
oh no, to be honest, I actually quite liked a few songs on there. Not gonna lie, but it did just die. It killed because people are like, we've moved on from this style now. We've moved on from this sort of thing. I think a lot of bands that you see as timeless are just sort of they're more influenced by past happenings. It's like Arctic Monkeys. You could argue were a sort of progression on Oasis and Blur, and they were a progression on the Beatles even.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I think like something like EDM and like any sort of electronic music, new wave, house music, whatever, it's so like bursting out of nowhere that there's no legacy to sort of rest on.
Well, and I think, yeah, I mean, obviously, EDM, right, or whatever you want to call it, house music, dance music, whatever, is a legacy from rock and roll. It's the four to the floor beat, so it comes out of disco, and then those beats were co-opted into purely its own art form.
Yeah.
Right? So it's not young, but you can couch it within its own legacy.
Yeah.
Right? If you take it from disco and then it branches off on its own art form after that.
That's it.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
It sounded like somebody was coming inside.
Maybe it was.
I was getting ready to fucking
maybe we're being
take somebody out.
Dude.
But you can couch it inside its own legacy. So perhaps you can't. I don't know. It's almost like talking about like rock and roll. You would start talking about rock and roll in the 80s. And then like bands that were sort of rock oriented in the 80s would be similar to Disclosure because that's like a 30-year period where they are now. Or then you're starting to talk about like where are they at? Because when you talk about Disclosure Settle, that album, a lot of their like high pitched chorus accompaniments with like harmonies that are going over the top.
Yeah.
And stuff. That's very 90s. Like if you listen to LFO and stuff like that, it's very similar style, but they brought it into the mainstream and they brought it with current contemporary production value.
Yeah.
And it sounds amazing. So then, like, what do you do after that? Because I would say that it's almost impossible to limit that medium because it's just literally like a four to the floor.
Well, this is what I'm saying. Like, when did that album came out? 6-7 years ago.
Yeah.
What have they done since?
They've done Caracal. There are some good songs on that.
Yeah, you reckon?
Yes.
I've not heard one person mention that album.
Yeah, but one person. Who the fuck are these people?
No, I
We've already talked about how.
No, but this is like is like. I've not heard anyone say like, dude, you need to get on this shit. Apart from you right now, like this is the first person I've heard.
Caracal is not as good, not nearly as good as Settle.
So surely that shows something. Surely that shows like a
no, it does. I mean, it's
trend.
a sophomore slump. Every band
Yeah?
goes through that shit.
Do they though?
Yeah. But also, I mean, in my opinion, Caracal isn't as good, right? But the industry itself. Right, like they're not geniuses.
I totally stopped you.
No, you haven't. It's not like it's like they're not geniuses or anything. They're two brothers that make good house music.
Yeah, dude, I'm playing devil's advocate. Like what they do for them.
But what major band has done that? Has any major band been able to cross over into the mainstream but also maintain critical? Have they been able to maintain the status of critical darling at the same time as selling records? Because people say like their second album's a flop and it lost critical success, but they don't want to like make the connection like, oh, it was a flop and it was critically unsuccessful. So it's like, who's influencing who there? Especially when I listen to an album, I'm like, what are these critics really talking about? You know?
Yeah, I get you.
So I do think Caracal was not as good, but was it bad enough for them to lose all of their momentum? No. Like, that's ridiculous because they're obviously some of the more talented producers.
I didn't even hear about it, to be fair.
Oh, my goodness.
No, for real.
I mean, that's damning in and of itself.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Look at their album artworks, dude. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
Well, yeah, that's cool. That's
Nocturnal with The Weeknd.
Yeah.
Magnets, they had Lord. Hourglass, Willie and Abel. It was definitely more dubby influenced. Yeah, I mean, soon.
Yeah. Yeah, like I see what they're doing. Maybe I'm just not in that scene anymore. You know?
I don't think so.
Maybe that's saying like I
don't think you are.
Yeah, like
I'm not really either, but
no, but I feel like I was like 6 years ago as it came out. I was a bit like, okay, I can fuck with this for a little bit, but
the reason I liked it so much is that you could hear it at a club, right?
Yeah.
But you could also listen to it at home, and it was like equally as good.
Yeah.
That's why it was so incredible. It's like the first time, like no matter what you say about Radiohead, it might have crossed over to the mainstream, but you couldn't hear any of that music at a club. I mean, come on.
Like that's you only hear.
This might be like one of the only times other than hip hop where you can get something that's almost like trifold. Right? Yeah. Where it's good in the bedroom. I mean, okay, that's bad. Yeah. No, it's not good in the sheets, sorry. It's good when you're listening to it on your own.
It's good in a room with a bed in it by chance, but not in the sheets.
Yeah. Yes, and it's good when you think about it as music as an art form. And then it's also good when you're just trying to like zone out and escape and dance with people and stuff. I don't think you've really seen anything like that. I mean, the Beatles, hip-hop. Hip-hop's probably one of the only other ones that gets close to that. Maybe some 80s music gets there.
I don't know, I don't know, I kind of...
Hey Ya by Outkast is probably the closest thing that
no,
comes
but I would never put on Hey Ya by Outkast. Like,
really?
Just around the house, I would never put that on. Like, no way.
I guess
it's like it's too much.
It's too
like
upbeat.
Like you're making a cup of tea and it's like some guy going like, "Hey, yeah," and like, no, like, dude, I'm just like,
all right.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, dude, I'm just trying to like do life at the moment, like not try and this ain't party, you know. This ain't that moment. Like, I'm just
I guess you're right there. So that one doesn't really work. So are you proving my point?
No, because like. Again, I do feel like, or in certain bars I go to, I do hear stuff like R.E.M. occasionally, or like, you know, Jeff Buckley or something like that, you know. And I will listen to that stuff at home. So, you know, that's kind of okay. But again,
that's a different kind of. I meant like dancing to the stuff. Like, I mean, like a real club.
Oh yeah, see that's the thing. Yeah, like.
Because I mean, you can if a club has a certain bent, they're gonna play they're gonna play like
don't get me wrong, I
Smashing Pumpkins and stuff.
Yeah, like I don't go to like real clubs around Liverpool. I go to like bars with like club rooms, you know. So it's like for Jacaranda, it's like slightly indie. They play Bowie, they play like, you know, Arctic Monkeys, maybe a Beatles track occasionally, but they're not like, you know, strobe lighting and right. Fog machines and all that.
That's sort of what I mean. Is it kind of crosses over all?
I guess it's like how you sort of, I don't know, react to that music. What you do at the time when you're listening to it, you know. It's I think that's different. You know, I think I've got very much a music taste where I can listen to the same music no matter what I'm doing. I don't have like my going out music and my, sleeping in bed music. I just have like music, like my taste. But I don't know. Yeah, it's interesting. To be honest, I should probably check out that Disclosure. That Disclosure EP.
Yeah, dude, it's fine, dude. I actually haven't listened to it either, so.
Well, there we go.
Moog for Love, dude.
Shit, it could be. It could
check
be
out Moog for Love EP by Disclosure. We're gonna.
How much they paying you, dude?
We're gonna play a new track here pretty soon. Hope it's flames for you guys. All right, I need to go.
Yeah, you need to go.
Okay.
All right, cool. I'll wrap this up then. All right. Well, that has been the second episode of the Bickering Podcast. That's might have strayed away on a few topics, but I think we've had a good time here. No? Have you enjoyed yourself, Chase?
Indeed.
Yeah, cracking. Yeah. Alrighty. Well, we'll catch you hopefully in the next week or two with episode number 3. All right.
It might be me again. So.
It could be, yeah. We'll have to see. All right. Ta-ra, guys.